I was halfway through making the cake when Henry came to find me. I looked up in surprise and asked, "Why do you have time to pick me up today?" It was the first time in half a year that he had come to find me on his own initiative. Instead of asking me to go directly to his house, Henry didn't look well. He stood in front of the counter with a gloomy face and impatience. "Are you almost done?" "Almost. Wait for me." I finished making the cake in a hurry. After instructing the clerk to deliver it, Henry dragged me into the car. Before I could sit still, Henry pressed on me from behind. His sharp canine teeth bit into my smooth nape. I was in so much pain that tears welled up in my eyes immediately. I knew he wasn't that kind-hearted to pick me up from work. It turned out that he was having another episode and couldn't wait. I pinched Henry's wrist hard and cried out in pain. "Gently, gently. It hurts so much." Henry ignored me and instead pinned my hands down. After he had bitten enough, he got up. Henry wiped the corner of his mouth with a tissue and said hoarsely, "Get up and drive." Bearing the pain from my nape, I got up and got out of the car. As soon as my feet touched the ground, I felt so weak that I couldn't stand. I didn't understand why. Clearly, I'm a merman without glands and can't sense pheromones. But every time after being bitten by Henry, I'll blush, my heart will race, and my legs will go weak and I can't stand steadily. I supported the car door and shakily sat back in the back seat. "Young master, you drive." Henry looked over with an unhappy expression. I forced a dry smile and said, "My legs are weak." Henry dropped a good-for-nothing and went to drive. When we got back to the Chi family, my mom had just finished cooking the last dish. The young master and James are back. After Henry greeted her, he went upstairs first. I quickly went to wash my hands and set the dishes on the table. Why did the young master drive today? My smile froze for a moment and I quickly found an excuse. He disliked that I drove too slowly and wanted to drive by himself. My mom poked my forehead and said, "Don't do this next time." I pouted and didn't say a word. My mom doesn't know what Henry did to me. I can't resist being bitten on the neck and I can't tell my mom about it. If I tell her, she'll think it's my fault. In my mom's opinion, the Chi family has helped us a lot. When I was 5 years old, I had a serious illness and was on the verge of death. She took me to human society to find a doctor. When there was no solution in sight, it was the Chi family who gave us a hand. After that, the Chi family proposed that my mother and I stay. They were busy with work and away from home all year round. So they asked my mother to take care of Henry, who was also a child, along with me. So we stayed. Henry had always been lukewarm towards me, until he was diagnosed with pheromone disorder. When the disorder attacked, I happened to be by his side and was bitten by him when he lost control. After the bite, Henry quickly calmed down. From then on, Henry, like discovering a new continent, always liked to bite me. However, outsiders didn't know that my mother and I were mermaids, but thought we were betas. Betas can't be marked. That's why Henry was so unscrupulous. Whenever the illness attacked, he would grab me and bite me. Several times, I even suspected that he wanted to eat me. After dinner, I hid in my room to apply medicine to the back of my neck. In order to cover up the frequently appearing wounds, I deliberately grew my hair a bit longer. Henry suddenly appeared. "You got it on your hair." I was startled and the cotton swab dropped to the ground. Thinking about who caused this wound, I took out a new one and handed it to him. "Then, could you help me?" Henry stared at me without moving his hands at all. I knew it would be like this. I turned around dejectedly and continued to apply the medicine on my own. "Lower your head and push your hair up." I was stunned for a moment and then immediately lowered my head and pushed up the ends of my hair. When the cotton swab touched the wound, I flinched. Unconsciously, the picture of him pressing on me and biting me emerged in my mind. The ointment was slightly cool with a bit of stinging pain, but it was like an electric current was passing through. My legs went weak again. I scolded myself angrily for being good for nothing. Henry's voice came from above my head. "Silly, what are you still thinking about? Is it done?" I came back to my senses slowly and looked up into Henry's eyes. Those dark eyes were filled with a smile. "He is making fun of me." I hurriedly pushed him away and said, "Thank you, young master." I'm going to sleep. But Henry is not going to let me off. He turned around and pinned me down on the bed. Looking down at me. I kindly helped you apply the medicine. Do you just thank me verbally? I stared at him in disbelief. Otherwise, what? Henry is so shameless. The wound was bitten by him. Isn't it only natural for him to help me apply the medicine? What else does he want me to do? He slowly lowered his head, and his nose was almost touching mine. As our breaths intertwined, my heart was pounding so hard that it felt like it was going to fly out. I felt so uncomfortable that I had difficulty breathing. Holding my breath, I suddenly pushed the unsuspecting Henry off the bed. Henry got up with a dark face, gritted his teeth, and shouted, "James!" I didn't expect that a push would make him fall off the bed. I was extremely panicked. I kept saying sorry to him like chanting scriptures, closing my eyes and steeling myself. I said in a trembling voice, "Otherwise, you can take another bite." "Okay, I'm going to bite somewhere else." This time, Henry was unexpectedly easy to talk to. I didn't even dare to open my eyes and waited nervously for Henry to bite me. The next second, something soft touched my lips. I was so scared that I didn't dare to move. Could it be that Henry is trying to retaliate against me by using a bug to touch my lips? Just as I was about to ask him, Henry suddenly bit the side of my neck without warning. A sharp pain swept over me, and I blacked out. When I came to, Henry had already gone out. The next morning, when I got up, Henry wasn't at home. I still wanted to settle the score with him. He actually sneaked away first. At breakfast, my mother seemed to be able to stare a hole through my neck. "Tell Mom, what happened to your neck?" I stammered and didn't know how to explain. Henry blatantly left the bite mark on my neck. It was as if he wanted everyone to know that he was angry with me. "I saw the young master come out of your room yesterday." My mother was full of worry. "Did you too?" "No." I racked my brains to explain. "He came to borrow something from me and accidentally fell. When I held him, the young master's teeth hit my neck. As a merman myself, my mother has great trust in me." She nodded, half believing and half doubting, and told me not to have any other thoughts. I really didn't have any other thoughts. On the contrary, Henry has a lot of crooked ideas. He thinks about how to bite me a few more times every day. He never considered that I'm a merman without glands. Finally, I managed to get past the matter of the tooth marks in front of my mother. Unexpectedly, when I got to the dessert shop, the clerk Harper asked me teasingly, "Boss, did you go on a date with the alpha who came to pick you up last night? Me and Henry on a date? What a huge rumor this is." I immediately denied it and clarified the rumor. "Then what about the tooth marks on your neck?" The Band-Aid couldn't cover them, so I didn't bother to put one on. Who would have thought I'd keep getting asked about it? I was so ashamed and angry that I said it was a dog bite, after saying that I didn't forget to add a threat. "If you keep staring at my neck, I'll cut your pay," Harper cheerfully replied. "Got it. I've already gone to the transparent kitchen to make puffs." Harper is still whispering with another clerk. The two of them are muttering, afraid that I'll hear a single word. I stared at her with wide eyes, silently warning Harper that I'd deduct her salary. Harper came over smiling. "Boss, I'm wronged. It's Benjamin who said it's his birthday and he'll treat us to dinner tonight." Only then did I realize that I had overthought. "Why didn't you say it earlier, before getting off work?" I called Henry. "What does it matter to me whether you come back or not?" Missing a chance to bite my neck. Henry seemed a little unhappy, but I was very happy. "It matters. I forgot to tell my mom in advance. You help me eat more and don't waste the food." Henry retorted, "Do you think I'm a pig?" before he could scold me. I quickly hung up the phone. Before getting in the car, I received another message from Henry. I hesitated to open it, afraid it was scolding from him. "Don't eat randomly. Don't drink. Come back right after it's over." Immediately afterwards, he sent another message. "Luna told me to say this. My mom wouldn't care about these things for me. It's obviously something Henry said on his own. I'll do the opposite of what he wants." Benjamin handed me a bottle of fruit wine. Out of curiosity, I drank it without hesitation. It was sweet, like fruit juice. When there were several empty bottles in front of me, the two noisy people in front of me suddenly quieted down. Why are you two talking? I turned my head in the direction Harper indicated. I met Henry's dark eyes. Henry, why are you here, Hick? There was a sudden spinning sensation, and I was lifted into the air. Regardless of the people coming and going in the restaurant, Henry carried me on his shoulder and walked outside. Since I couldn't struggle free, I simply covered my face. So embarrassing. When we got home, my mom had already gone to bed. Henry threw me onto the bed forcefully. My cheeks were burning hot. My body temperature also increased a lot. Henry, I'm so hot. Didn't you turn on the air conditioner? The heat is spreading everywhere. I'm so restless that I want to let out my fishtail and soak in the pool. Do you still remember what I said? Seeing me fidgeting, Henry pressed me down with one hand and put his knee on my legs. I thought about it for a while and then honestly shook my head. I tried to wriggle out of his restraint, but he was as immovable as a mountain. You're pressing on me so hard that my legs hurt. When he spoke again, Henry's voice was hoarse. Don't move. When I obediently stopped moving, he pressed down even harder. His eyes were also burning hot. Being stared by him, I felt even hotter all over. It seemed that something was getting out of control. Henry opened his mouth, about to do something to me. The next second, suddenly there was a flash of silver light. A pink and white fishtail squeezed between us. There was a rare crack in Henry's expression, and his eyes widened a lot. My dizzy mind cleared up for a while, and I was extremely panicked. My fishtail was exposed and I couldn't retract it at all. It also became soft and I couldn't exert any strength. I tried to cover it up by grabbing the quilt, but was stopped by Henry. James, you. I wanted to cry but had no tears. Young master, you didn't see anything. Henry's big hand slid across the fish scales and gently stroked them. It was ice cold. It well relieved my feverishness. I felt so comfortable that my scalp went numb, and I even wanted him not to stop. But Henry didn't fulfill my wish. He hooked the tip of my tail and gently tugged it. Who else has seen this? Henry's voice was hoarse, as if he was trying his best to restrain something. I won't tell you. The places he touched began to heat up again. It seemed that all the moisture in the air had been dried up. Only my fishtail gradually became damp. There seemed to be something that was about to get out of control. I took a deep breath, and my heart was pounding. Henry, let go of me. He grabbed so hard that I was in so much pain that I wanted to shed pearls. In a panic, I wrapped my fishtail around Henry. He didn't stand firm and fell on me. The moment our bodies touched, I even forgot to breathe. Clearly, we were both burning hot. Yet, unexpectedly, it alleviated some of the scorching heat. I stared blankly into his eyes and was then covered my eyes by Henry. Henry's voice was hoarse and his tone was helpless. Come on. Drunkard, go to sleep. I opened my mouth, but my brain lost the ability to think. Henry covered my mouth with his hand and repeated, go to sleep. When the sky was bright, I struggled to wake up from my sleep. Rubbing my eyes, I met a pair of dark, heavy eyes. I was so startled that I shivered all over and lost all my drowsiness. Who can tell me? Why is Henry in my bed? I reluctantly let go of my hands that were wrapped around him, and my mind was racing to recall last night. All I remember is, I was taken away by Henry when I was halfway through the fruit wine last night. He even carried me on his shoulder. It was so embarrassing. After that, I don't remember. Henry stared at me expressionlessly, and I couldn't tell his mood. I bit my lip, failing to recall. I nervously broke the silence and said, Well, why are you here? Unexpectedly, Henry rolled over and pinned me down. James, do you really not remember? Or are you just pretending? Do you need me to help you recall? He reached his hand to my waist, hesitating to lift my shirt. I instinctively tensed my waist and held my breath. Really? I really don't remember. Could it be? Did I really go that far with him last night? Henry stared at me silently for a while. Just when I thought he was about to get angry, suddenly, he let out a soft laugh and asked, Do you think? Are there mermaids in this world? Hearing this, I widened my eyes. Why did he suddenly ask this? I secretly lifted a corner of the quilt and peeked. I didn't let out my fishtail. After quietly letting out a sigh of relief, I stammered in reply. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, the book says so. Henry said, oh, and sized me up. Are you very nervous? No. I grabbed the quilt tightly and changed the topic. Why did you know where I was last night? I didn't even tell you. Henry spat out 2 words. Passing by. It was obviously a lie to me. He must have secretly followed me. Otherwise, how could he know where I was? Imagining his furtive look of following me, I gave a little laugh. Young master, why are you so concerned about me? Could it be that you like me? Henry's breath faltered for a moment. Then he straightened up with a straight face. You really have a wild imagination. Only a fool would like you. It was just a joking remark from me. But he actually said such unpleasant things. I felt so embarrassed that my face flushed, and I pulled up the quilt to cover myself. Blusteringly, I said, I don't like you either. After saying that, I sniffed and gruffly told him to leave. You can go out. Young master, I don't want to see you. On the weekend, my mom told me she had something to do and needed to go back to the sea, asking me to take good care of Henry. I don't want it at all. Henry is a grown-up. There's no need for me to take care of him. Moreover, he just said he doesn't like me. I don't want to stay with him even more. After going downstairs, I saw Henry standing in front of the fridge. I turned my head and went into the living room to watch TV. There came the sound of a plastic bag being torn from the fridge. I couldn't help but look over, but I was completely blocked by the fridge door. I couldn't see anything. Thinking that I still had to be alone with him next, I took the initiative to make peace. I ran over and asked, Young master, what are you doing? Henry closed the fridge and said, It's none of your business. How annoying. He still has this kind of attitude. I pouted and ignored him. Find ingredients to make lunch for myself. I often help my mom in the kitchen. Handling ingredients is very easy for me. But how to cook is a difficult problem. Flipping through the recipe, I quickly finished cooking 2 dishes. They look quite good. But it seems I put too much salt. Henry, are you hungry? I've cooked some food. Come down and eat quickly. Henry didn't open the door, so I kept knocking until his impatient face appeared in front of me. He looked at the 2 dishes on the table, full of suspicion. You can cook. I straightened my back. Of course. I'm so smart. I can do it as soon as I look at the recipe. Henry took the chopsticks and canceled the takeout he just ordered. Hurry up and eat. I eagerly picked up some food for him. Henry ate it half believing and half doubting. I asked expectantly, Is it delicious? Henry nodded expressionlessly. You made it yourself. Why are you so unconfident? Eh? Could it be that I didn't put too much salt just now? Henry has always been very picky about food. If it were too salty, he would definitely scold me right away. I took a big mouthful with relief. The next second, I spat it out and searched for water all over the room. After gulping down half a bottle of water, I said angrily, Henry, is it fun to lie to me? With a smile on his lips, Henry retorted, Didn't you just play a trick on me too? I fell silent immediately. I did have the intention of using him as a guinea pig. I didn't mean to put too much salt. I mumbled as I sat down beside him and asked him to order me the most expensive takeaway. After finishing the expensive takeaway, I was very satisfied. I saw Henry coming back from taking out the trash with an abnormal complexion. His face was sickly red. Are you having a fever? I reached out to touch his forehead, but Henry dodged away. He frowned and said disgustedly, Stay away from me. Embarrassed, I withdrew my hand and stepped back a bit. Henry walked upstairs in a hurry. I watched TV in the living room for a while, but I couldn't concentrate. Henry always appeared in my mind and distracted me. His face really looked strange just now. After some hesitation, I suddenly stood up. I picked up some water and antipyretic medicine. I knocked on Henry's door. Young master, are you asleep? There was no sound inside. Could he have fainted? I directly pushed the door open and went in. A pleasant smell wafted towards me. The fluffy quilt bulged into a lump, which was the place with the strongest smell. Henry was curled up in the quilt with his eyes closed. I squatted beside the bed and curiously looked at Henry's sleeping face. As expected of a young master, he looked so good even when sleeping. Only his eyebrows were knitted and his cheeks were flushed. He looked very uncomfortable. I carefully reached out to feel his forehead. As soon as my hand touched his forehead, he tightly grasped it. Henry opened his eyes, with a clear look in them. There was no sign of sleepiness. He asked coldly, "What do you want to do to me?" My heart skipped a beat. I brought you water and medicine. Get up and take them." Henry didn't say a word and stared at me intently with deep eyes. It was as if he was staring at his prey. I felt a tingling sensation on my scalp under his gaze and couldn't help taking a few steps back. I quickly changed the subject. "Are you so uncomfortable that you can't sleep?" Henry gave an almost inaudible "Then take the medicine quickly. I won't disturb you anymore." Suddenly, I was pressed against the door panel by a force. Henry's burning body temperature came close, and his moist lips and tongue wandered on the back of my neck. I was extremely flustered. Henry. His sharp canine teeth were eager to move and almost pierced my skin. I realized it later. It seemed that Henry had entered his susceptible period. But didn't he always spend this period in the hospital before? Why was he at home this time and hadn't taken the inhibitor? Henry's voice pulled me back from my thoughts. "Didn't you come to me on your own initiative?" He grabbed my waist and picked me up, then kicked the door shut with one foot. With a bang. My heart trembled. "Henry, what are you doing?" Henry threw me onto the bed. Then he pressed himself on me and kissed me while pinching my face. It was okay that he always bit me before, but he even kissed me today. This was my first kiss. What on earth was he doing? My mind went blank and I didn't know how to react. It wasn't until I was gradually short of oxygen that I came to my senses and pushed him away. Henry let go of me. I regained oxygen and gasped for air frantically. After calming down, I asked knowingly, "Are you in your susceptible period?" Henry nodded. No wonder he was acting so strangely. I reluctantly forgave him for kissing me. "I'll go get." Henry interrupted me. "I've already taken the inhibitor." So that's why he was acting furtively in front of the fridge. Taking the inhibitor. But then what's the deal with him pinning me down now? He's already taken the suppressant. Why is he still like this? Seeing that I wanted to leave, Henry grabbed me and held me in place. "Didn't you come here on your own initiative to keep me company?" He phrased it as a question, but his tone was more of a statement. But I had no idea his susceptible period had arrived. "Young master, What was happening right now was way beyond my expectations. I didn't have time to think. All I could do was shake my head." Henry gave a faint smile. "I'll teach you." His eyes were filled with boundless desire, almost pulling me into the abyss. My breathing was in disarray, and my face and ears were flushed with the surging blood. "James?" Henry commanded. "Look at me." I stared blankly into his eyes. After that, I didn't know anything else. When I came to my senses, I was gasping for breath. It was as if I had gone through a susceptible period myself. Henry's eyebrows were relaxed, and his breathing was slightly uneven. My mind was still in a state of shock. "What are you standing there stupidly for? Do you want to keep going?" A jolt went through me, and I shook my head repeatedly. "No more, no more." Before going out, Henry suddenly called me back. "What's the matter?" But Henry fell silent again. Just when I thought he was joking with me again, I heard him ask, "Have you ever considered leaving the Chi family?" Why did he suddenly ask me this? My mother said that I should repay the kindness of the Chi family. As long as the young master doesn't drive me away, I'll stay here forever. Henry nodded in satisfaction and motioned for me to go out. After his susceptible period ended, Henry went abroad. A month later, he and his parents returned from abroad. He also asked me to accompany him to have a meal at the old mansion. I've been to the old mansion several times, but Henry's grandfather doesn't like me. Every time, he would suggest that Uncle William send me away. Uncle William and the others would agree verbally but take no action. Instead, they would always chat with me for a long time, about the young master and about me. When we arrived at the old mansion, afraid of being disliked again, I went to the yard to play with my little cousin. But accidentally, I took a tumble. My ankle swelled up with a huge bump. The little cousin was startled and blamed himself, saying sorry. Brother Fong. I tried to take a couple of steps. The excruciating pain made me sit down on the ground again. The servants not far away saw it but remained indifferent. In the end, it was still the little cousin who ran to find Henry. Henry came out soon. He glanced at the several servants not far away and walked quickly towards me. I tilted my head up and suddenly felt my eyes getting sour. Henry, I can't walk anymore. You're so clumsy. Henry picked me up in one go and said, even Xiaobao wouldn't trip. You managed to swell your foot up like a steamed bun. Feeling a bit guilty, I rubbed my face against his chest and said, I didn't do it on purpose. Henry lowered his eyes and said expressionlessly, don't move around. The little cousin explained beside me. It was me who insisted on dragging brother to have a race. Sorry. I quickly comforted him. It's okay. Go inside. Xiaobao. When passing by the front hall, I saw a boy with delicate features sitting inside. Our eyes met, and he gave me an enigmatic smile. Lying on Henry's bed, the family doctor helped me bandage my ankle. Now it's really swollen like a big bun. Can't even walk. The servants delivered dinner to the room. I watched them leave, but I haven't started eating yet. Then I heard a moderate conversation outside. James thought he was the master, just because he fell. He insisted on being carried by the young master. The old master only kept him to treat the young master's illness. He really takes himself seriously. Isn't he always like this? But I don't think he'll be showing off for long. Is the Chi family not going to keep him? Yeah. Did you see that Omega? He has a really high compatibility with the young master, the grandson of the old master's friend. I heard they're going to get engaged. Their voices grew softer and softer. I instinctively wanted to follow them to hear the rest. And I lost all my appetite. What did they mean by what they said? So, the Chi family took me in back then just to cure Henry's illness? And Henry is going to get engaged. Is it to the boy I saw? With a heart full of doubts, I waited for Henry to come upstairs. But Henry didn't come up for a long time. Just thinking about what I heard just now made my hair stand on end. I can't wait to see Henry. I want him to give me an explanation. Did the Chi family take us in out of kindness? Or did they take us in just to treat Henry's illness conveniently? Henry didn't appear until 12 o'clock. Haven't you gone to sleep yet? He looked displeased and walked over quickly. I shook my head. I wasn't sleepy at all. I've been waiting for you. That's just right. Henry squatted beside the bed and checked my foot. Can you still walk? Before I could answer, Henry had already picked me up. I quickly hugged his neck tightly. Why did you come so late? Henry didn't answer. He just said that we should go back now. Did something happen? Henry actually wants to go back so late. Before going out, I saw that Omega, who has a high compatibility with Henry again. He was smiling. Is this Mr. James that Uncle William mentioned? I'm Daniel. Henry didn't stop. He carried me downstairs in a hurry. The other party was not annoyed. Instead, he smiled and said to me, see you later, Mr. James. I averted my gaze and looked up at Henry. I couldn't see his expression clearly. I only knew that he was not in a good mood at the moment. The two of us drove away from the old mansion quickly. During a red light stop, I couldn't help asking, Henry, did your family take us in because of your illness? Henry didn't answer but instead asked, who told you that? Many people think so. I felt dejected. As if something had grabbed my heart, I took a deep breath. It's true, isn't it? When the green light came on, Henry stepped on the accelerator and casually said, why do you ask so many questions? Don't listen to other people's nonsense. I turned my face away awkwardly and didn't ask further. My nose started to feel sour, and I could hardly hold back my tears. So it was really as the servant said, because I could help Henry relieve the pain caused by pheromone disorder. That's why I was kept. After all, I've been raised here since childhood. It's always more reassuring than randomly finding someone outside. Now, an Omega who is highly compatible with Henry has appeared. They don't need me. An Omega without pheromones. The more I think about it, the more miserable I feel. I don't know how to tell my mother about this. My mother always remembers the kindness of the Chi family, but the Chi family has such a scheme in mind. When the car stopped at the door, Henry got out of the car and opened the door on my side. "Why are you crying?" I tried to cover it up and covered my eyes. I'm not crying. Don't think wildly. There's no such thing. Henry bent down and picked me up. His embrace was very warm. I greedily nestled in his arms, wishing the journey to the room could be longer. This is probably the last hug. After staying up all night, I simply got up and removed the gauze from my foot. Mermaids have strong recovery ability. I can already walk on the ground. I decided to leave here directly before Henry woke up. It would be too embarrassing if I waited for the Chi family to drive me away. I didn't even pack my things and left empty-handed. Many of the things I own are from Henry. Even the dessert shop was a graduation gift he gave me. But I don't know if he will secretly sell it after I leave. I can only ask Harper to help me manage it first and guard against Henry. I tiptoed to Henry's door. I said goodbye to the closed door. Then I quickly went downstairs. When I opened the door, I bumped into a familiar figure. "Hi, Mr. James. Nice to see you again." Daniel seemed to know that I would leave early and came early in the morning. I avoided his inquiring gaze and bent down to change my shoes. "Henry is still asleep. You can go in and wait for him by yourself. Aren't you afraid that I'll do something to him?" I shook my head. "Aren't you going to get engaged? What you want to do has nothing to do with me." I was worried that Henry would wake up. He usually gets up for a morning run at this time. I ignored Daniel and rushed out of the door. When I arrived at the seaside, the sun was shining brightly and the sea was sparkling. I couldn't wait to transform into a merman's tail and sit on the reef. I have taken a lot of photos of Henry on my phone, although he doesn't like taking photos. But every time I would say that I wanted to record his life for his parents to see. He frowned and didn't object anymore. But every time he would threaten me to delete them. I secretly kept them all. But now these photos can't be kept either. The phone isn't waterproof and will break as soon as it gets into the sea. I regret not simply printing out the photos and making them waterproof. Without any warning, a call popped up. When I saw the name, I couldn't hold the phone as if it were a hot potato and almost dropped it into the sea. I took several deep breaths before pressing the answer button. Henry asked word by word, "James, didn't you say you would always stay by my side? Where have you gone?" I didn't know how to answer for a moment. I did promise him that I would always stay by his side. But isn't the Chi family going to drive me away? Could it be that Grandpa Chi didn't tell him? "Sorry, I can't keep my promise." "No, you have to do what you said. James, you're waiting for me. I'll be there soon." I've never heard Henry speak in such a gentle voice. I couldn't help but be in a daze and wanted him to say more. While I was in a daze, Henry's voice came from behind and through the phone at the same time. "James, turn around." I instinctively turned around and forgot to retract my fishtail for a moment. By the time I realized it, Henry was already standing in front of me. He saw my fishtail and let out a sigh of relief. "I almost forgot. You're a merman and won't drown." "That's not right." "How did he know?" "I don't have the slightest impression." "When did you find out?" Henry tightly grabbed my arm. "When a certain little drunk couldn't retract his fishtail after getting drunk. So I was exposed at that time. No wonder Henry asked me if there were mermaids in the world back then." Halfway through my recollection, Henry pulled me into his arms and locked me tightly with both hands. "Don't you want the dessert shop anymore? Your employees saw me today and specifically closed the shop." It seems that it was right for me to ask Harper. Henry glanced at the phone in my hand. "You took so many candid photos of me. Are you really willing to throw them away?" I hung my head low and let him hold me. My mind was in a complete mess. Didn't Henry say he didn't like me? Then what does it mean that he's holding me now? He even threatened me with the dessert shop. He also knew that I was reluctant to part with those photos. They weren't even photos of me. Why was I so reluctant to let them go? I stared blankly at the phone and let go of it as if my hands had lost all strength. Henry quickly caught it. His face turned even paler. "You really don't want it anymore?" I hesitated to speak and looked up at him. I wanted it. But would his grandfather allow me to have it? Looking at Henry's panicked face, I suddenly thought of something. I licked my dry lips and my heart started pounding. Henry, come a little closer. Have you made up your mind? I nodded, signaling him to come even closer. Since Henry wants me to stay by his side, then it's better for him to stay by my side. I wrapped my arms around his neck and pressed my entire body weight onto him. There was a loud splash. I pulled him into the embrace of the sea. Henry can't breathe in the sea. Once he's short of oxygen, he forcefully kisses me. After several times, my lips went numb. I had no choice but to take him to a small deserted island. Looking at the wet Henry, I happily flicked my fishtail and leaned in, facing the endless ocean and the small deserted island that's even smaller than his house. Henry remained calm and showed no sign of panic. Instead, he sized up the deserted island and even gave his comments. Do mermaids also live on land? It's a bit shabby. I almost choked on my breath. Of course not. This is my secret base. Seeing that he couldn't breathe in the sea, I kindly brought him here. Yet he actually said my place was shabby. I don't want to talk to him anymore. Let him fend for himself here. I turned around and wanted to jump into the sea, but I was hugged from behind by Henry. A strong fragrance lingered around me. Henry whispered in my ear, "Can I still bite?" I gave a soft snort and twisted my neck to avoid his lips and tongue. No, he's already on my territory. He still has his mind on biting me. I've always wanted to say that it hurts a lot to bite the neck. I'm not an omega. Okay. Henry nodded. Then help me find an inhibitor. In the wilderness, where can I find an inhibitor? I gritted my teeth, lowered my head, and said, "Bite then." Henry took a very gentle bite. Compared with pain, there was more of a tingling sensation. It turns out that marking can be so comfortable sometimes. I was so comfortable that I felt embarrassed to face Henry. As soon as he let go, I dived into the sea. After swimming for a short while, I met my mother. She pulled me in surprise and asked, "Why aren't you taking care of the young master in the Chi family?" I have been taking care of him. I've even brought Henry to the deserted island. This can't be considered as not taking care of him. I didn't know how to tell my mom about the Chi family for a moment. My mom asked straightforwardly, "Did you bring him here?" I nodded guiltily and said, "Is it not allowed?" "Mom, do you have a water-repelling pearl? Then Henry doesn't have to stay on the deserted island all the time." My mom took out a water-repelling pearl without saying a word. I took it happily. "I came back a while ago just to find this for you." My mom looked at me deeply, sighed and said, "I knew you'd ask me for it." My mom had told me before not to have feelings for Henry. I promised, but my heart and mind are out of my control. I still developed feelings for Henry. However, I don't know if Henry likes me. He said that only a person with a head kicked by a donkey would like me. I wonder if it's too late for me to find a donkey now. When I emerged from the sea again, I saw Henry from afar, having taken off all his clothes except his pants. There was a small bonfire in front of him. The damp clothes were half dried by the fire. I swam over quickly, holding a struggling fish in my hand. Henry didn't expect me to come back so soon and hurriedly reached for his clothes. "The clothes aren't dry yet." I looked at his well-built body boldly. "Besides, I've seen it before." Henry stopped his action of putting on clothes. "James, when did you become so shameless?" I coughed lightly, with my ears turning red. Henry was not very dexterous in his movements. Just as I was about to give him a hand, I caught a glimpse of a dark patch. Then I grabbed him tightly. "Henry, what's that?" Unable to resist me, Henry put down his clothes and said casually, "It's nothing. I just bumped into something." I went behind him. Several dark bruises were clearly visible on Henry's back. This couldn't be caused by a simple bump. No wonder he was easily pulled by me, and he dressed so slowly. I thought he was deliberately showing off his figure to me. When did he get such a serious injury? I couldn't hold back my tears and asked in a trembling voice, "Who did this to you? Want to avenge me?" I nodded vigorously. "My grandfather." "Then I can't help you." I forced a smile. Was that why he had to go back so late that day? Henry caught the pearl that fell from me and said, "Why are you crying? Are you going to exchange it for money when you're out of cash?" Even in such a situation, He still made a joke. Why did he beat you? Henry took the clothes to the fire to continue drying them. He gave me a deep look and then turned to look at the magnificent sea. Because I told him that I've fallen in love with someone and won't accept the marriage alliance he arranged. I cried even more bitterly. He might as well not have told me. Henry has someone he likes. I haven't even confessed my love yet. And I'm already heartbroken. Henry asked knowingly, "Are you so sad because I have someone I like?" I didn't want to talk to him about this. I held back my tears and tried hard to put on a fierce look. Whether you have someone you like or are involved in a marriage alliance. Anyway, I don't want to let you go. You can't go back. Only I know this place. You can only stay here for the rest of your life. Henry replied very straightforwardly, "Okay." I was stunned for a second and stuffed the fish in my hand to him. After Henry took it, he smiled and casually threw the half-dead fish onto the beach. "It's not very good for me to eat and drink for free at your expense every day. Do you need me to do something for you?" He was inexplicably in a very good mood and always had a smile on his face. I looked at him curiously. Could it be that he was blown stupid by the sea breeze or was scared silly after hearing that he couldn't go back? Henry held the tip of my fishtail in his palm and stroked it. "Why don't you talk?" I endured the tingling itch and lowered my head to think. "Let me think." He silently urged me. The tip of my fishtail was almost rubbed raw by him, thinking that he already had someone he liked. I suddenly had an idea. "Then wait until you give birth to a little merman for me. And then I'll consider letting you out. An alpha can't get pregnant, let alone give birth to a merman. As long as he can't give birth, then he can only stay with me for the rest of his life." Oh my God. How could I be so smart? The next second, I was pressed down on the beach by him. "Henry, what are you doing? This is my territory. And you actually dare to?" He kissed me again. I've locked him on a deserted island. Yet he still dares to kiss me. Henry looked up innocently, meeting my flustered eyes. "Didn't you want me to have a little merman for you? How can I have one by myself?" "Oh no, I forgot about this problem." He played with my hair and asked in a low voice, "Why did you lock me up and still want me to have a little merman for you?" Because you like me, right?" How did he know? I haven't even said it yet. I glared at him bravely on the surface but timidly inside and said, "So what?" Henry chuckled and said, "You're so stupid." I sniffed and didn't say a word. Rarely. I didn't retort. With a flick of my fishtail, our positions were switched. I stared down at him for a few seconds, then turned around and dragged my fishtail towards the sea. Without any warning, a force came from behind. It pulled me into a warm embrace. "James?" Henry's voice fell beside my ear. "Why have you never thought that the person I like is you?" After he finished speaking, I stood still in shock, and my heart began to beat erratically. My mind went blank. What? Henry actually said that the person he likes is me. When did a donkey appear on this small desert island? Silly fish. Henry lowered his head, and a warm kiss landed on me, filled with unprecedented tenderness. He pulled my hand and placed it on his chest. I felt his heart beating out of rhythm, just like mine. So he also has moments when his heart beats so fast? I couldn't help but touch and feel it again and again, to feel his vigorously beating heart. "You really like me?" I was a bit incredulous. "You're not just kidding me, are you?" "Yes, it's true." Henry's voice became low. "Stop touching." I replied with an "oh" and continued to press my hand on his chest regardless. He said he likes me. What's wrong with me touching him? After a moment, Henry spoke softly. "Do you want to have little mermaids right now?" I retracted my hand abruptly as if electrocuted and shook my head repeatedly. "No, I don't." But Henry got interested and put his arm around my waist. "Seize the day. Let's do it right now. After all, if I can't give birth, someone won't let me go home. Let go. Let go. I'll let you go home right away." I was so anxious that I thrashed my fishtail and broke free from Henry's restraint. Then I pulled him and jumped into the sea suddenly. I was afraid that he would make love on the beach the next second. When approaching the shore, I hesitated. I held Henry's hand and asked in a low voice, "Henry, is the person you really like me?" "Yes, the person I like is really you." I couldn't help asking again and again. Henry answered patiently again and again. I listened to him saying he liked me again and again contentedly. He finally became that impatient young master again, relying on the water-repellent bead on his body. Henry pushed me back into the sea and leaned over to kiss me. We had a lingering kiss in the sea. Finally, they returned to the shore in a new identity. I smiled and held his hand, saying, "What identity is it?" Henry sighed helplessly and replied, "Boyfriend."